Are you new to sublimation? Or maybe you're trying to decide what sublimation printer is right for you. What ink should you buy? What paper is going to be right for you? Make sure you guys watch all the way to the end because I'm going to cover everything you need to know. Should you buy a sawgrass sublimation printer or should you convert an Epson EcoTank printer? That question is totally going to be what's right for you. So let me explain. I have owned the sawgrass sublimation printer for 8 years. I have owned the exact same sublimation printer for 8 years. I started out with the Sawgrass SG400. If you guys are new to sublimation, they actually started out, they had the SG400 and the 800. So the 400 is now the 500, the 800 is now the 1000. The only difference with these printers is they are now Wi-Fi. The older models, you had to plug them in with USB. I have had the exact same sublimation printer I started out with 8 years ago. I can leave my sawgrass printer unplugged or plugged in and not print on it for months. And I mean months and months. I can print for the first time and maybe have 1 or 2 lines. All I simply have to do is a print head clean 1 or 2 times. It may take you a couple more times than that, but usually 1 or 2 times works for me, and that is it. I never have clogged lines. And once again, that's me leaving it to set for months on end. I have owned 3 converted Epson printers with different inks, from StarCraft to Cosmo and another one from Amazon. I've tried all sorts of different inks. Out of all of those inks, I did love the StarCraft ink, but once again, they all ended up doing the same thing and they had clogged lines. I'm just a crafter just like you. So I may sublimate today and I may not sublimate for 6 months. This may shock some of you guys, but you can actually convert an Epson Workforce. It takes a different cartridge. It doesn't have like the EcoTanks for as little as $45. I highly recommend that you guys check out this short video from Crafty Gemini. I'll have it linked down below, and she's going to show you how easy it is to convert a Workforce for $45. I believe that I found one for around $50 or so on Amazon, so I'll have that link down below as well. But the ones that I was converting was the EcoTanks, and it cost me $200. Now, during the pandemic, people were paying even upwards to $500 for the ones that are printing the 8.5 by 11. It got crazy there for a little bit. You guys let me know in the comments below, when you purchased and converted your Epson, if you have one, how much did you pay for your printer? The next thing that you have to do for a converted printer is you need to purchase inks. So, you can sometimes get all of the inks for $20 to $50. It just kind of depends on what brand you purchase it from. The converted Epson sublimation printer may be a success for you. The people that I recommend that to, if you cannot afford or you don't want to purchase, for example, the sawgrass printer or an Epson that is already made for sublimation and you want to convert one, I highly recommend, even if you are a crafter, that you print something at least every few days to keep those lines from clogging. It is very important. Now, say for example that you are converting one and you actually have a small business and you're printing on this thing every single day, you will find success and you should not have any sort of clogged lines. Clogged lines are going to happen when you let it sit for a long period of time. Once those lines clog with the Epson, it is very, very hard to unclog those. So keep that in mind, that you could potentially lose hundreds of dollars like I did. Each one of my printers, I paid $200 or a little over $200. So I've lost almost, between the inks and everything else, upwards to $800. And if you were just going to say you were doing one, you could potentially lose upwards to $300 after you converted it and everything else. So please keep that in mind, where you could have taken that $300 and purchased a used, the place that I always recommend, if you want to find a good deal on a sawgrass sublimation printer, head on over to Heat Press Nation, look at what they have for the SG500 or the SG1000, and you will see sales. They always have used that they have refurbished like new. They may have used it for display, or somebody bought it and they didn't use it. And so you may be buying one where the ink has never even went into it, and you're going to get it at a fraction of the cost. So if you guys have been wondering, where can I get a sale? Where can I get a deal on these sawgrass printers? check out Heat Press Nation. They may not have one on sale today, but they may have one tomorrow. Check back constantly, but I always see them there. Whenever it comes to sawgrass, I get the question all of the time of what ink am I using? I'm using sawgrass ink. Now, I know it may be confusing because some people are like, well, of course she's using sawgrass, but which one? It is confusing when you first purchase a sawgrass printer. Which ink should you get? There's 3 of them to choose from. You have Sublimation, and then you're going to have the Siser Easy Subli, and then you're going to have Chromoblast. Something that I don't think people realize is, what is Chromoblast? Chromoblast is technically not in the same field as the sublimation. Chromoblast inks are made to work on 100% cotton, and they use a different type of paper, which we'll get into in just a bit. So now the question is, what's the difference between the 2 inks? Honestly, I have not really seen a difference. These Siser inks are supposed to be a little bit more vibrant, and they were also designed to work with Siser Easy Subli. If you're not familiar with Siser Easy Subli, this is a printable HTB, if you will, that is made for sublimation. With this, you're going to be able to get the Siser Easy Subli, which is going to be that printable HTB that is made for sublimation, if you will. And then you can also purchase the masks separate. Now, what's the mask for? So whenever we're working with heat transfer vinyl, you know how we have that clear plastic that we peel off at the very end? That's what that is. So once you print onto the Siser Easy Subli, which I have lots of videos on, I'll try to link one down below for an example. This is going to allow you to apply it to 100% cotton. So you guys know with sublimation is that you need either complete 100% polyester or a high count. The Siser Easy Subli is going to allow you to print it onto that 100% cotton. So that's the option. So these were made to work together, but you can still use the Sublimation ink with this. It works the exact same. So honestly, it does not matter. Pick whichever ink you want and then stick with it. I do believe the prices are the exact same. So in my opinion, I think they're pretty much the exact same ink. Siser does have just a little bit more vibrant. That covers the ink, not only for the Epson, but also the sawgrass printer. Now, whenever it comes to paper, I get this question all the time, is what paper do you recommend? When I started out 8 years ago, I started out with Tru-Pix Classic. So I haven't found it more recently. It had the logo on the back. So you guys could tell which way was the front and the back. This is one of my absolute favorites. This is what came with my bundle. I purchased my printer from Heat Press Nation. So for my bundle, it included the printer, the inks, as well as the paper. I do believe they still offer that today. Now, where do I purchase my paper from now? I purchased it on Amazon, and you could get all of the sizes. So it comes in these boxes like this. I keep on hand the 13 by 19, the 11 by 17, the 8.5 by 14, as well as the 8.5 by 11. So now whenever you purchase the Tru-Pix Classic, it actually comes like this. So it's hard to tell. You're like, which side is front and back? But if you actually fold this over, and you may not be able to catch it on camera, one side is white where one side is a little bit more of a yellow. So you can just simply fold over a corner and then see which one is more white. So the white side is going to be the one you're going to print on, so you'll load it face down in your printer. So now that I've told you my favorite, another favorite that I see a lot of people use is A-Sub. There is so many different brands out there. One last paper I want to show you is the paper you're going to need with that Chromoblast ink. The Chromoblast ink is going to use a different paper. So the back side will say Chromoblast, and then the other side, it feels like a silicone. So if you guys have the parchment paper, it feels similar to that. It is absolutely awesome. So once again, if you guys are interested in seeing how the Chromoblast inks and that paper works, how that process on 100% cotton, I will have that video linked down below. So if you're planning on printing mostly on cotton, you may consider purchasing the Chromoblast inks along with that Chromoblast paper. Once again, if you buy that bundle off of Heat Press Nation, it's going to come with your paper as well as your ink. Now let's go over what size printer is going to be right for you. Let's start off with the Epson. A question I've seen over the years is, which Epson Echo Tank should I purchase, or maybe the Workforce? But it will be the same size printer, for example, that's only going to print up to 8.5 by 14, but it's going to be from a lower price to really expensive. The difference you're actually seeing, ignore the extra features, okay? So for example, this one may have a fax on it, this one has a copier, this one has a load on the top or the bottom, and that's the difference that you're actually paying more money for, which has nothing to do with sublimation. So my number one recommendation, whenever you're going to convert an Epson Echo tank, ignore the features, ignore them. Pay attention to the price. What is the most cheapest Echo tank that you can get, or workforce, for example? The cheapest one is the one I'm going to go for. So for example, if you can get the workforce, and yes, the cartridges are a little bit different in the way you load it, but I could get it for 45 bucks. I'm going to go for the one that's $45. So the biggest thing is ignore those features, ignore all of it, go for the cheapest price that you can get it. The next thing whenever it comes to the Echo tank is size. Just like Sawgrass, you have the Sawgrass SG500 as well as the Sawgrass SG1000. So for example, the Sawgrass SG500, you can print up to the 8.5 by 14 unless you have a bypass tray like this one right here. You're going to attach this on the back of your machine, and then you can do 8.5 wide, and then you're going to be able to do super duper long. I don't even think there's a number on the link. So you can buy the rolls of paper and you would put it in there and you would be able to print multiple over and over again. Once again, if this is something that you're interested in, I have a video showing you how easy it is to set this up with your printer. On top of that, I also recommend Heat Press Nation. They do get these used where somebody may have bought it or they've used it for display, and you can get them at a lower rate. For the Sawgrass SG1000, you can print all the way up to 13 by 19 using that bypass. Without the bypass, you can print up to 11 by 17. So that's a really big print. So if you're wanting to get into making really big t-shirts or hoodies and all of those kind of things, or maybe you're going to be doing big puzzles or floor mats or big photo panels, things that are going to be bigger than 8.5 by 14, you're going to want to go straight to the Sawgrass SG1000. Now, I will say you can accomplish so much with that Sawgrass SG500. You can still do large t-shirts. So say, for example, if I have a design that's actually rotated on that paper, I can print it as wide as 14 inches. Unless I have the roll, I can do much wider. So that's going to give me 8.5 high. And that can give me up to 14. Most of our designs need to be around 10 to 11. And if it's just like this, it's say 8 inches high. Now, if you're doing something a little bit more square where you need that 11 by 17, you're going to want to go for a bigger printer. There is ways to slice your design in half. If you're only going to be printing something big every once in a while, you can piece those together to make a bigger design. So those options are out there as well. But once again, so much to cover. You can do tumblers, coffee cups, Christmas ornaments, keychains. You can do photo panels as well as mouse pads. I mean, the list goes on that you can accomplish with that Sawgrass SG500. I honestly, out of my 8 years, I use my Sawgrass SG500 more than I have my 1000. So going back over to the Epson Echo tank or workforce, it would be the exact same thing. There is different models that you can get. So you're going to follow those same steps. If you decide that you want to get one of those printers that can print up to 13 by 19, get the cheapest one that you possibly can. Next comes your colors as well as your printing software. So with a converted Epson, you're not going to have a software that is going to allow your colors to print absolutely perfect. You're also not going to have that software that's going to print out just enough ink for each substrate. With your Sawgrass printer, you have what's called your print manager, which now they call print mate, and that allows you to choose, for example, I'm doing a coffee mug. It's going to print out the exact amount of ink that you need so you're not wasting ink or you have enough ink. So it's really cool the way that that works, and I honestly promise you there is a difference. Now, the other thing is you're going to get those true colors. So you can even do vivid, photographic, and all of that. You can change your colors. There's so much more that you can do with a Sawgrass to get really nice, vibrant, crisp colors. The question I get all the time is, how is your colors so bright and vibrant? It's simply because I have a sawgrass and it comes with a print manager or printmate now, if you will, that controls that. I can really adjust it and get it exactly like I want. And honestly, with sawgrass, it is a plug and play. You really don't even have to mess with that unless you want to really intensify or get something a little bit closer. You really never have to mess with that. It's simply choosing your substrates that you need or choosing between vibrant and photographic. Another perk for owning a sawgrass printer is you do get a designing software. Just like if you purchase a Cricut or a Silhouette, it comes with that software. So you guys can actually go in there, design out whatever you want to. You can use your own images, or they actually have tons of free ones. You can even upgrade and pay a membership, and that way you can get more files or features and things like that. You can upload your own fonts in there. So they have their very own creative software as well. With Epson, once again, it is a hack, right? So we have converted it. It does not come with any sort of printing software. So you may have to learn to play around with those settings. You can go into your print settings and adjust things as much as you possibly can there. You can change for your substrates. You can change that paper from glossy to matte, as well as the copy paper, and that there is going to adjust for your substrates in a sense. When it comes to the Epson, the software that I recommend using is Canva. Use the free version. You can use Canva. There's so many designs in there as well, fonts. You can bring in your own stuff and edit it right there, as well as, say for example, I was doing a Tumblr wrap. I would bring it inside Canva, size it to what I need, save it to my computer, and simply print it out. When it comes to investing into a sublimation printer, I want to throw in a bonus tip. Your sublimation printer can also be a DTF printer. You guys know that DTF printers can cost you thousands of dollars, but with your sublimation printer, you're able to use your DTF powder along with the film. You don't have to put any other inks in there, anything like that. You're simply going to print on DTF film. You can also use parchment paper. I'll link a video down below just to teach you guys a little bit more on that. But you guys just need the DTF film and the DTF powder, and you're going to be able to not only use your sublimation printer for sublimation, you're also going to be able to use it for a DTF printer. So it is an amazing investment. I do highly recommend it, not only for a crafter, but somebody getting into a business. When it comes to a sublimation business, you can simply even just sell these sublimation transfers. Just print all day long and sell those. You do not have to make anything. There is so many affordable businesses you guys can get into with sublimation. You could get into phone cases. You can literally get those for pennies and sell them for $10 to $20 each. There's so much turnaround on those. It's something that I always highly recommend. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have any other questions whenever it comes to sawgrass versus Epson, any other papers or inks, what substrates, where do I purchase them, anything else that you guys would love to know whenever it comes to sublimation, sound that down below. I also would love to have your feedback. If you guys own a converted Epson printer and you have found success, let us know your tips and tricks. How often do you print on yours to keep it from clogging? Is there any other tips that you can recommend? What printer did you personally purchase? What ink do you recommend? I want all of that information down below as well. And if you guys own a sawgrass printer and you guys want to leave a testimony down below, you've had it for years and years, or you guys have had any struggles, let us know that information as well. If you guys have not joined my fan club or my besties membership, I highly recommend that you check it out. You guys could get early access to my videos, free printables. So if you're looking for sublimation cheat sheets, I've got those for you, as well as free PNGs and SVGs and lots more. I'm not going to tell you guys here. I try to leave that information for my besties, but there is a lot of goodness going on back there. So if you guys have not checked out my membership, definitely make sure you check it out. If you guys have found this helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, leave a comment down below, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.